Good afternoon, Muskegon Rotarians. Our community is bursting with growth, and part of the rebirth is led by Judy Hayner, Project Director of the Muskegon City Public Art Initiative, and our program for today. Welcome, Judy. Thank you for being here with us. But before we get started, I just wanted to give you a little opportunity to give us a little background about yourself and your journey leading up to this significant role.
Oh boy. I had been director of the Art Museum for the last 14 years. I retired in 2017 from the Art Museum. Best job in the community. Such a privilege to be able to do that. And this opportunity really fell in my lap when Patrick O'Leary, who some people in Rotary would know, Patrick O'Leary was the CFO for Sealed Power in Muskegon from the late 80s to the early 90s. When the company moved out of town, so did he. He's from Ireland. He came here from Arizona. He was in Muskegon 5 years. But Patrick got bit by the bug that I always reference. There's a bug in Muskegon that if it bites you, you're a Muskegonite, and he got bit. Anyway, Patrick O'Leary has continued to stay involved with Muskegon, and he's been a supporter of the Art Museum and the Heritage Museum, our cultural institutions, and the Irish Festival. But he called me one day after I had been retired for about 3 months and said to me, "What are you doing with your time?" He didn't say hello.
That's scary.
I was like, and that's like, wait a minute, I'm doing stuff. Anyway, we started a conversation about his interest in seeing additional works of public art in Muskegon and how he believed that could really add to the synergy of what's happening in Muskegon. And we really talked for a long time about how one goes about that. That's where the idea for the Muskegon City Public Art Initiative came from. And the Community Foundation agreed to sponsor us, and he agreed to have me run it. So that's how I got to be the project director for this project. It's a time-limited project. The Muskegon City Public Art Initiative will be responsible for 10 works of art, and then we close our doors and we're done.
Wow, it just seems like it lent itself to exactly where you were at and where you didn't even know you wanted to go.
Exactly. I couldn't be more fortunate, really. That's exactly right.
Well, we're fortunate, too, to have, again, your energy and your knowledge to bring all of this to Muskegon. Why do you think it's so important for public art in our community? Because we're small, but we have all this big art and opportunities for our community.
You know, Muskegon's history is so interesting. I came to Muskegon out of college. I'm not from Muskegon, but I came here right out of college. And the history of Muskegon is so rich with individuals making a big difference in this little town, because you're right, this is a small town. Our whole county is not the size of a big city. So our little Muskegon is very small, but the assets of this community have been built by individuals over the last 150 years. And there have been just enough people in that mix who really like art. And I think that has made Muskegon unique along our lakeshore. People that have listened to me have heard me say this before. No one from New Buffalo to the bridge, there's not one city that has all of the cultural pieces that we do. And it's what makes Muskegon unique. I love the lakes and the beaches as much as anybody, but everybody's got that along this Great Lake. Nobody has what we have. And so the idea of adding to that just simply continues that synergy. And I think I think Patrick understood that. I certainly understand that. I think Muskegon's assets are the arts and cultural institutions that we have. Everything that we can do to continue to push those really creates a uniqueness to Muskegon. And I think public art does that. I also think that public art creates a sense of place, obviously, but it also creates commonality. Does that mean everybody loves the art? No, it doesn't mean that at all. But it does create a commonality of experience across all of the categories, all of the types of people we have in our town. There's just a commonality of experience. Whenever you go in Muskegon, you're seeing these works. Mm-hmm. And I do think that this initiative is well timed, because I think it's making our community see better the other 50 some works of public art that surround us.
Right. And the interpretation of everyone too. It's just art gives you that opportunity just to really look at it and see what you want to see. So I agree. It gives the imagination something to aspire for and just to enjoy. And I applaud them too, that it's outside. It's so timely, with what we've gone through and what we're still going through is get outside. You can stay social distance and enjoy it. But definitely it's an asset. So what are the goals of this project?
When we started to develop this, the goals were to link stories with art. Patrick was very interested in the history of Muskegon and some of our unique stories. And so anything we can do to highlight that was something that he was interested in. But it was also to create significant works of art, permanent, significant works of art. Significant meaning monumental, larger scale than most people think about with art. Our sculptures we try to make them big because they have a bigger impact. It makes that a bit of a challenge because there's not a lot of artists right in our locality that are working with very, very large scale. But trying to create significant, large scale, permanent works of art that can highlight a story of Muskegon, an aspect of Muskegon. So that's really been the goal, to do 10, primarily sculpture, but we've also added in the mix a bit of murals. We have 3 in the process, actually.
Yeah, I'm excited about those, actually.
5 yes.
So obviously they sought you out because you had all these wonderful dynamics to make this job just the perfect fit for you and for the community. But what specifically are your responsibilities for this project?
So I'm the project director. I'm the person. There's no one else that works for the Muskegon City Public Art.
That's a big job. I read that job description.
So my job is in that first year, if anyone had been paying attention to the little red car I was driving, they would have seen me and thought I was just driving in circles. Because one of the first things I started doing was trying to figure out locations. What's available? Where would be logical places to put works of art? So finding the location, thinking about the story that we might want to highlight, and then doing competitive calls for artists. We do reach out to the artist community. And when I say that, I'm not just saying Muskegon, I'm saying state and national. We have done a couple of calls for artists, invitational calls, meaning I look for the artists that have done public works of art of significant scale and invite them to participate in the call for artists. So I do that. Then I work with the Downtown Arts Committee. They help to decide who we're going to pursue. Then once we have made a decision on a work of art, somebody has submitted an idea, then it's a matter of soliciting funds, getting all the pieces into place and setting up the contracts and then managing that whole process.
Do those artists come when you find them or when you talk with them? Do they come typically to the place where you have the ideal setting for this and kind of look at it before they start thinking of what they're going to create? Or is there something that you give them and say, this is what we're looking for?
When I develop a request for proposal, which is where once we know the story and the location and what we're looking for, I do a request for proposal. And in that, I am very specific with exactly what we're looking for and lots of photographic images, because I am not everybody would have the opportunity to come here. So when we put out the request for proposals for a city built on timber, they had maps of Heritage Landing. They had pictures of that site. They had all kinds of information, the dimensions of the site, so that they could respond to that. That's a good example of a project to talk about. We had, I think, about 18 submissions for that. We got it down to 3 finalists, and then those finalists had to create a maquette of their sculpture, a 1 inch to 1 foot scale of their sculpture, placed in the setting of Heritage Landing. Built that sphere. We put together a model of that, and then they come and then they present that to the Downtown Arts Committee. So that's pretty much how we've done it. And in all of the cases, it's about the art. In other words, the Downtown Arts Committee, or in the case of the railroad bridges, the community, it's not about the artists. No one even knows who they are. It's about the art. It's like, let's select the work of art that sings to us, that seems most appropriate, and that fits what we're trying to accomplish. And then we talk about who the artists are.
Yeah, that's quite a process. How long does it typically take from like beginning to end? I mean, I know it probably varies, right? But I mean, because you have a project goal in mind, so
right. So when we did City Built on Timber, that probably started. Average, I would say 18 months. The City Built on Timber actually produced in our finalists the artists that got that commission, and then the artists who did the roundabout sculpture at the lake. They were one of the finalists for that. And so when we finished up that process, the city started talking about the fact that the second runner-up might be a good choice for the lakeshore sculpture. So in some ways that shortened that process, but not as much as you think. We did their contract in the spring of 2019. I think that's right. Is that right? No, spring of 2020. Of course, in the winter of 2020, COVID hits, supply chains dried up. We just installed that in April of this year. So I would say 18 months to 24 months is not a surprise for the very start of an idea to the end of an idea.
Well, again, we're lucky that you were, kept on timeline, because it is beautiful. If people haven't been out to Pierre Marquette, oh my goodness, that is gorgeous. All right. So my next question is, tell us about the commissions that you have managed or are currently managing. So what's in the works? Give us the tea.
Well, so by the way, the intent was, when Patrick was talking about this, he said we could do one a year. Now he's talking to me when I'm 70 years old. I'm saying, Patrick, that doesn't make sense. I said, how about if we aim for 2 a year? So we agreed on that. It got sped up this year. Anyway, our first project was Moxie at the Lakeshore Museum Center, our mastodon, and the mastodon's on the loose. And again, that's something that we started by the fall of 2018. It was installed in the fall of 2019. So solid year plus for that project. City Built on Timber at Heritage Landing was number 2, and the Celebrating Muskegon at the Lakeshore is number 3. That went in April. Because of COVID and timing and weather, and we've wound up with 4 this year. I don't want to do that again because it's a lot. But we had hoped that we could install the sculpture at the Lakeshore even in December. Didn't happen. Okay, so this year we will be finishing up the Muskegon Rails project. By the time we speak, this is shown to Rotary. I think that the second bridge, I hope, is underway. The first bridge will be completed. So that's happening this summer. Late this summer, we have a sculpture that we are partnering with the Women's Division, who are celebrating the their 70th anniversary of service to Muskegon, and it's quite a legacy that they've had. And that sculpture will go at the convention center on the north side, between the convention center and Shoreline Drive. That should go up, I think, in August or September. And then our fourth project this year is a massive mural that will go up on the second floor of Western Avenue, on the exterior wall, left of the doors. In other words, if you're at Dr. Rolf's, you're going to see this mural. And it's 65 foot by 12 foot. And it's by Dr. Hubert Massey, who is a renowned Detroit area artist who is award-winning and just is doing spectacular work. We've done a whole bunch of community input. We've done 4 community forums this year to help him understand what defines Muskegon. That's what the title of that mural will be. So those are the 6 that are either done or in process. So that leaves 4. And of the four, we are going to reserve one for Muskegon Heights. I will begin to work with Muskegon Heights in the fall to start thinking about what are their stories, where are some good locations, what are they interested in, what can they bring to the table. But we would like to do one project in Muskegon Heights. And then we have a project that we're going to start planning in the fall, working with one of our local artists who does do large scale monumental sculpture.
Nice.
Yeah, that's going to be exciting. So, yeah, we have a few.
You have a lot in the works for sure. And so I realize, and being part of my world, naturally, it's fundraising and getting those dollars to help really back this initiative. Yeah. Is it? How does that work? And has it been tough, or people just really see this as an opportunity for the community to just grow?
I never cease to be amazed at the generosity of Muskegon and the vision of Muskegon. It's not a few people that have a vision for what this town is and can be. It's a lot of people. So the fundraising is certainly, that's a big part of the job. Once we figure out what we're doing, where we're doing it, and who's doing it, then it's a matter of getting out there and soliciting funding. But we have really been the recipients of very immense generosity from individuals and from some of the companies in town. It's been really remarkable. So I'm confident that we can pull off the next four. The four for this year are all fully funded. Well, that's not true. I will start the fundraising for the arena mural probably in about 3 weeks. So,
wow, that's impressive that so much of that is already underwritten or the money is already raised. That's amazing.
And when you look at our funding, it's almost all private money. 85% of the money I've raised is private. About 5% is from local, and then 10% from state art funds. So we're not using tax dollars. We're using art money or private money for all of these projects. And we have leveraged. Patrick O'Leary has put in $25,000 for 10 projects, so he's putting in $250,000. 150 so far. That has been leveraged to almost 800,000 that we've raised beyond that.
Goodness gracious, that is amazing.
It's been good.
Oh yeah, that's great. So with all that, I mean, this is a lot that's going on. What's next? I mean, what's next for Judy Hayner and this whole initiative?
Well, my daughter's going to have more. My daughter's going to have her second baby in July, so that's what's next.
Okay, fair enough.
Yeah. Once we finish these four, then, like I said, in the fall, I think I will have two that will start to develop, probably, again, anywhere from 18 months out for those two projects. So I see getting the next four done in the next 3 years. That's my goal. So is
there going to be opportunities for people to kind of maybe a bus route or a walking tour, or how can they find out? Would that be fun? Get a trolley, maybe have a wine and cheese. Just kind of
it would be fun. I think we should do that. Yeah, because it's just not these 10. There are another 50 works of public art in Muskegon. Let's go look at all of them. Yes, I would love to do that. And I would love to be on and help. Yeah. I would take
that's another fundraising opportunity.
Exactly. Yeah, that would be good.
So seriously though, so people know where all these works of art are, because I mean, some of them are what you just said. Many of them are obvious. We've seen them. We've heard people talk about them, but there's other ones that I didn't know about until, talking with you. So there is something though out there that we can go to and go somewhere to get that map. Okay.
The Chamber of Commerce prints a map every summer, and on one side of the map is all the fun places in Muskegon, the restaurants and the cultural institutions. On the back of that map is listed all the public art with the locations of where they are on the heritage area of downtown. So that map exists. It's at the Chamber, the Art Museum, the Heritage Museum, the Visitors Bureau. People can pick that up. There is a county map system that we've worked on that we haven't figured out how to roll it out, that would also help people see it. And maybe there's a QR code system that we could do on each sculpture, because there's full information on every sculpture. We just haven't figured out what to do with that. On these 10 ones, I always have a big sign that says what it's about and who the artists are and stuff like that. So
I think that's important. So yeah, we know that story because it is part of that story that helped create that. So, and it's all free, obviously, right? Everything is free for everyone.
No admission tickets.
Perfect. All right. Well, I just wanted to say thank you again. But this initiative invites our community to get outside. I love that part, and explore the rural and urban areas that are touched by creative minds. I mean, this is just the most organic thing I can see out there. But Judy, thank you very much for sharing your story and enhancing the canvas of Muskegon. It's truly remarkable, and I'm just excited to get out there myself and check it out.
Thank you. Amy. Thank you very much.